In Malaysia, we have long tried to negotiate our border disputes in a spirit of consultation and negotiations. With Thailand, for example, we created a joint development area, with both countries agreeing to share mineral resources. With Singapore, a peaceful and diplomatic appeal to the International Court of Justice resulted in an amicable ruling that was accepted by both sides. And with Brunei, a solution was found on the basis of mutually beneficial formula with a production sharing agreement put into place. I hope that all border disputes can be resolved in that same spirit of mutual respect and cooperation. I am also optimistic that ASEAN and China will soon be able to agree on a more binding code of conduct to replace the 2002 Declaration of Conduct in the South China Sea. The overlapping claims in the South China Sea involving 6 parties are particularly complex, but they have generally been managed with remarkable restraint. We must never allow our disagreement on this issue to escalate beyond the diplomatic realm. All parties must remain steadfast in their resolve to find a peaceful resolution of this dispute. And yes, while I remain fully committed to a common ASEAN position in terms of our engagement with China on the South China Sea, I am equally determined to ensure our bilateral relationship remains unaffected and, in fact, continues to go from strength to strength. This is the way forward: dialogue, engagement, consensus. Those are the values enshrined in the Declaration of the Zone of Peace, Freedom and Neutrality, signed by the founding ASEAN member states in 1971, when my father was Prime Minister of Malaysia, and in the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation since then. Let me now share with you my thoughts on 6 practical principles that might underpin the notion of effective cooperation in our region. First, it is extremely important for such multi-state engagement to fully recognize the role of each member state, rich or poor, small or big. Second, we must appreciate that every member country is different in terms of history, culture, and its economic position. Third, confidence-building measures need to be put in place to foster deeper dialogue and understanding between partners. Fourth, we need a web of different forms of security architecture, not only regional and with the cooperation of extra-regional powers, but also within the context of bilateral arrangements. Fifth, there need to be institutional relationships not just at the highest levels, but between our different institutions. A significant degree of regional and global cooperation already exists, and building upon this will draw the major powers closer towards each other. Indeed, regional processes such as the ASEAN Regional Forum and the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting +8 are already actively exploring cooperation in disaster relief and humanitarian assistance. And I would like to call today for the establishment of a regional humanitarian body, a new rapid response team with the ability to respond to disaster when it strikes. These activities are especially relevant because they foster direct interaction between the defense and security agencies of different countries, going beyond formal declarations and high-level dialogues to coordinated operations on the ground. Establishing the ARF was one of the most far-sighted and bold initiatives our regional community has taken to strengthen peace and foster stability, inclusive in nature and embracing countries of all political hues. We have been a little slow, though, in making progress on our agenda of building confidence and security context and of preventive diplomacy. So it is clear that the ARF, complemented by the AMM+8, has to make greater haste and show stronger political resolve on all sides. But in building new alliances and forging new security contexts, we should not forget the old ones, like the five-power defense arrangement. As I said earlier, we should not be surprised when we encounter problems. Which brings me to my sixth and final point, that far from letting these difficulties knock us off course, we must build on all we have achieved together to not only manage such disputes, but to resolve them. Now more than ever, we need to focus on the bigger picture and not become blinkered by our own concerns. In Islam, we have a concept, wasatiyah, which means moderation or justly balanced. It is this spirit of moderation that has made Malaysia the country it is today, and that I believe will now be the key to overcoming the challenges we face together as a region. That is why at the United Nations last year, I called for a new global movement of the moderates that will see government, business, and religious leaders around the world face down extremism wherever it is found. Because just as you cannot make the world a better place by passing a law proclaiming that it will be better, you cannot rid the world of extreme views simply by making them illegal. I have no doubt we can best foster tolerance and understanding, not by silencing the voice of hatred, but by making the voice of reason louder and louder. Since our discussions and deliberations 10 years ago, this forum has always been a lot more than a talking shop. It has been about fostering clear-headed, practical security and defense cooperation. And I believe that the movement of the moderates can be a similarly constructive expression of our common values. The great challenge before us as nations is how to secure the blessings of liberty and prosperity for our people in an uncertain world. How do we chart a better future for our children? How do we advance the welfare of our people and solve the great problems of our times? The answers lie in coming together and in collectively bringing our will and resources to bear. As responsible leaders, we cannot and should not squander the opportunity before us to help build a new world order where a just and equitable peace predicated on the rule of law is the norm rather than the exception. And we know that governments who do not practice good governance are existing on borrowed time. We must ensure peace and stability at all levels, national, regional, and global. To achieve that goal, let us continue to engage each other in a constant dialogue. For in the words of Winston Churchill, jaw is better than war. I thank you.